Good. Well, hello, and welcome to the Workshop for Moms, or Moms Workshop. But we are here together as a collective group of moms because we believe in supporting you. And I want to welcome our very first speaker. This is Michelle, and she is a mom of 3 kids, okay? Because everyone in this group, we're all moms, right? We're all here, we get this. She has participated in various mom groups. She's even run a few of her own people, and she's joined many book clubs, and she's envisioned something different as she found herself looking around and wondering what she'd like to do that didn't involve kid activities. Anyone else relate to that? I sure do. Like, okay, I'm in a mom group, but I don't want to be a part of this activity with kids. Okay. So as she worked to discover her own passions, she realized that there is no size fits one program. Did you hear that? There is no size fits one program. And the true key to figuring out your passion and making your goals happen is finding connection in a supportive environment. Therefore, her new mission, listen to this, her new mission is to help other mamas find their passions while being more present with their families in a supportive and empowering environment surrounded by grace. She has started spreading this message through YouTube, Instagram, and her blog. And by the way, this incredible woman, she holds a master's in education, and she spent 8 years dedicated to the classroom before having a family of her own. Michelle, we are so grateful that you are here today. Take it away.
Well, thank you, Amanda. And thank you, moms, for coming and joining us tonight. It's just a pleasure to start this passion that we all had together to create these workshops for moms and to just bring us all together and find a space to connect. And so on that note, I'm going to share my screen. And I just want you to take a look at this question right here that I have for you, ladies. If you guys can all see it, give me a thumbs up. Everyone good? All right. Now, take a look at this chart of feelings. Just take a moment just to figure out where you're at on this chart. For me, I'm going to admit right now that I'm a little bit anxious. This is new for me, a new venture. I don't know if some of you feel anxious for being in here for the first time and joining us. Maybe it's your first Zoom room. So just take a moment and we'll just take a pause as you figure out where you are at right now. Would anyone like to share their feeling? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
I guess a little apprehensive because I know that I have other things I have on my to-do list. Like that's a lot of moms is taking the time for you and like, what should or could I be doing?
Exactly. And that sometimes we don't give ourselves that space to do it. And that's exactly why we're here, because it puts us at, when we get that space to do this together, then we will be able to bring that to our families and have that piece to bring back to them. And so we're just taking notice to where we're at right now, because again, we're not judging. We're here just to figure out where are we at right now. We're just observing. I see Tracy. And we want you to know that this workshop for moms is a safe space. This is a place where we're just coming here to share. Like I just said, we don't want to judge ourselves. We don't want to judge you either. We're here to share and to grow together. And that's the whole purpose of this. And so we want you to know that that's what this is all about. And congratulations, because you're here right now. So everyone needs to give themselves a round of applause because you are here. It's time. You showed up. You gave yourself time. And for me, for our talk right now, we're going to learn how to rediscover that spark. What do you have inside of you that you forgot about in motherhood? And that's what we're here to do right now. Now, I love this activity, so we're just going to take it for 30 seconds and just look at yourself and look at everyone on the screen right now if you're in gallery mode, and just smile at each other. The baby, if you need some inspiration, just look at him because he's fun. I'll push that play again. But just smile. Take a few minutes, just take 30 seconds. We're just gonna smile and I'm gonna stop talking. And sometimes we just need that moment to reshift our thoughts.
Walk in here.
Oops. Moving on. He's too cute. So, everyone, I'm Michelle, and my passion is to create community. And I forgot the word connection, and connection. Support moms who have given themselves so much. And I love to travel. And I've rediscovered my desire to learn. I kind of forgot that along the way. And I realized that is one thing that I missed. My passion was to learn again. And I love to create, which is why we're joining together to create this workshop for moms. And my biggest focus right now, what my goal every day is just to be present. And so right now, the kids are gone, so I could be present with you guys and not have to think about that and making that space for these different moments. And so here's my family right now. This was when I first became a mom. And I feel like that is when everything in my world shifted. That moment that you get to hold that first newborn, that whole 9-month period was just kind of like, oh, this is happening. But as soon as that baby's actually in your arms, everything changes. I don't know what for you. And with my first, I ended up having, couldn't find the anesthesiologist. 2 hours on Pitocin, had no idea what that meant till it happened to me. And after he was born, 3 weeks later, I had appendicitis, and they found a hernia at the same time. So all these shifts in my body while I'm trying to figure out how to hold a newborn that I can't hold anymore because he was too big for me to carry around. I had to get help and ask for help. I think that's one of the hardest things of motherhood, is trying not to do it by yourself, but we think we can. And that's what this group is all about, is we don't have to do it by ourselves. We can do it together and be in it together. And so just take a moment. What have you felt like this? What feelings do you get when you look at these pictures? What memories does it put in there of what it is like to be in motherhood at times? Anyone want to share a feeling that they are?
Yeah, I would say overwhelm and exhaustion.
Yes. And feel free, if you don't want to say it out loud, go ahead and put in the chat. Yes, exhaustion, overwhelm. Wanting to, for me, wanting to pull my hair out. They're all screaming and yelling all at the same time. Isolating, yes, very isolating in motherhood, right? And not being able to reach out to other people or even other moms, because us moms know we don't want to put a burden on someone else, because we can do it by ourselves, because we don't want to, we have so much going on, we don't want to do it. But if someone asks, at least for me, I jump at helping them, but it's so hard to ask. And it doesn't stop, right? You keep going the next day, the next week. And yes, Sandy, no one understands. It's so hard. But that's why we're coming together, because we all understand it. And so what I did along my journey is I took a mom's friendship survey, and I got about 100 responses. And in this survey, one of the key things I thought was really, some of these keys came out, was one came across as, I am probably the most disconnected to moms and other human beings than I've ever been. I don't know if any of you feel that way as well, but I felt that at times. But what I noticed was what women did want in support from other moms and other people was they wanted no judgment. They wanted support. They wanted positivity. And they also wanted someone who they weren't afraid to call them out when they needed to. If you weren't doing that you had that accountability, that support. Someone who could acknowledge the struggles and the difficulties and understood it. That ongoing support and encouragement and active listening, but not trying to fix your problems. Because I don't know about you, my husband's always trying to fix them. And that's so frustrating. And for me, I want a place where I can talk those things out with other women without the fix it, like coming to my own conclusions. And then I can bring that Cliff Notes version back to my husband. And he's like, okay, that's what I need to do. But I don't want to have that conversation with him. at least me personally. But the problem is women tend to put themselves low on the priority list. So it's hard to make that connection with other moms because we put ourselves so low. So I'm just so glad that you're all together so we can put ourselves higher on that priority list and make some good connections. And I love Brene Brown. She puts, I can be myself when I know that I'm with people who recognize intricity in why can I not pronounce tonight? Inextricable, unnameable spiritual connection that is shared humanity, because belonging is not in jeopardy. But a lot of times we feel like we don't belong, we're not good enough. And a lot of times it's those thoughts, that story going on in our heads that's telling us that. No one else, because you wouldn't say that. The things you tell yourself, you would not say to your friend. In fact, if your friend tells you that about them, you're going to say, no, that's not true. This is what the truth is. And this is what I see in you. But can we say that to ourselves? And so that's where we start today, is how do we connect? How do we connect with ourselves? Because that's where it starts. And that is the hardest part, because we are the hardest on ourselves. As moms, we're the worst. And so we're learning how to be a friend to ourselves. And so then that's where my framework of check-in comes in. So we go through curiosity, honesty, expectations, connection, keep listening, intentional, and now to understand what it takes to connect with ourselves. But we're going to just start off slow today. We're not going to go through all this today. We're going to start with asking ourselves 2 questions. So we're going to take a moment to just either type them in the chat, to take a moment to think about it. What is one thing I enjoyed today? Something you enjoyed about you, something you did. And then what is one thing I will plan to enjoy tomorrow? You're just going to answer these 2 questions right now. So just take a moment. Think if you want to unmute at some point, you can share with us or type it into the chat, or just write it down for yourself, however you want to do it, whatever speaks to you at the moment. Oh, I love that, the gorgeous red leaves in the trees. Yes, I was actually going through on my drive today and seeing all the change of the leaves. It's such a gorgeous time of the year. Oh, movie night. Working on long written pieces. Oh, super happy puppies are the best. They can always make you smile, just like the babies, right? The little tiny ones. That's why we keep them, because they're so cute. What about tomorrow? What can we do? Well, what is something we can plan to enjoy tomorrow? Yoga, yes. I did that 2 days in a row now. Amanda, be proud of me. I realized that I want to get back to yoga and made that, even if it's 10 minutes a day. Oh, acorn squash, yes. Yes, getting out to the garden, getting into the nature, going out for a walk. Yes, you're living in that California heat there, Tracy. I get the fresh, crisp air out here. So if you haven't though, I would like you to write this down on a paper or something for you to actually look at tomorrow, and to make sure that you do that for yourself. A little Post-it, something, put it somewhere for you to do tomorrow. And this is just for you. Because what you're trying to do is connect with yourself again. You're trying to figure out, what do I actually enjoy? Because that question is so hard to say as a mom. You're so focused on what the kids do and making sure they're happy, but what about you? What is one thing that you can do for yourself for enjoyment? For me, I'm actually going to say tomorrow that I haven't been doing my reading as much as I like, and I've been putting that off because it's like, oh, I can get to that later in the day. So first thing in the morning tomorrow, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do my reading that I want to do and not put that off anymore. So with Connecting Mamas, we want to create a safe space. And so my mission at Connecting Mamas is igniting mamas' passions by growing from grace and connection. Grace has been something that's just been circling in my head for a while, and I wanted to define it a little bit for you ladies, because I know sometimes it's a word that has different types of meanings to it. So this is my intention with the word grace. When mamas gather with intentions of offering grace, magic happens. It really does, when we just get together and be there for each other. Grace allows us to get through the tough times by lifting each other up, giving grace for making mistakes to learn to do better, grace for working to embrace differences and learning from each other, grace for giving grace for mothering the best we can. We're all out trying to do our best, and we're here just to support each other in doing that. So at Connecting Mamas, we embrace grace to connect and support each other as we identify and live for our passions. And the hard part, I have to admit, is identifying those passions. And we want to talk that out and give each other grace as we figure that out. Not an easy process, especially somewhere along the lines when our schedules became everything in our thought process. And so now it's time to celebrate you, because you came up with something you're going to do for you tomorrow. So come on, get your arms up and wave yourselves around and say out loud what you're going to do. Even if you're on mute, don't care. I'm going to read my book tomorrow. You can unmute yourself if you want. You're going to celebrate that you're doing something for you. And so rather than a to-do list, we have a to-done list for today. I can connect. I have an action step. You all picked one action step that you're going to do tomorrow to connect with yourself. I have a done list, and I just celebrate that, because I'm going to say I'm as guilty as charged at this one. Celebration is one of the hardest things for me, because I want to think, okay, here's this to-do list over here. I didn't get all these things done. But you know what? To-do lists are important in the morning, but at the end of the day, we just need to look at the to-done list. What are things I accomplished today? What can I celebrate that I did as a mom? What connection did I make with myself? What connection did I make with my friends? What connection did I make with my kids? What connection did I make with my husband or spouse or whatever? That looking at those genuine connections. Now I'm going to tell you, one of my biggest struggles was connecting with my son. I think it's more because he's just like me and some of our tendencies. And so anytime he got angry, I would just get angry back and start yelling at him. And would always be in these constant yelling battles between the two of us. And the more I've dug into my own journey of figuring out what lights me up and wanting to do this Connecting Mamas, he has been inspired by that he now wants to make YouTube shorts for me. He took my computer over today and was making a YouTube short for me, and something that we could both enjoy doing. And it was his, I didn't ask. He just wanted to, because he saw how much it lit me up and he wanted to be part of it. So I think it really comes down to, the more we do find what lights us up, we're going to find that genuine connection with our kids, that we don't have to feel like, oh, I have to do this right now with them, but it's not necessarily something I want to do. And so you find those, you're looking for those genuine connections with people when you're showing who you truly are and making those connections. And so I look at Martha Beck, who's been inspired by, to live a life that is wrong for you is a form of dying. There are people who have lives that look perfect. They try to be happy. They believe they should be happy. They are trying to like it, but it's often off course from their North Star. They aren't satisfied. So we have to define that North Star. We have to figure out our passions and strive to go towards that. Because when we do, it lights up and the people around us get into that light. Like my son wanting to help me with my YouTube shorts without even asking. Just something he wanted to do to help support me. And vice versa. I want to help support him in doing his ventures. He wants to make a podcast. And so I want to help him do that. And again, all this inspiration came from me wanting to be an entrepreneur. And so it's going towards what you are passionate about that will inspire those around you. And so as I worked to find my North Star and discovered my whole self, there were two things that helped out most. Number one was community. Because as moms, we keep saying we want to do this alone, that we can do it. I can go pick up my self-help book. I can go read it. But if I don't have someone to discuss it with and truly listen and validate my thoughts, I'm going to be stuck in my own head. I'm going to be stuck there circling and circling and circling. So we want like-minded moms who want to grow together, to come together and have these conversations so that we can be inspired by each other and lift each other up. And it helps to have a mentor, someone who has already started down this path to help guide this so we can create that inspiration and keep it going. And so I'm offering to you guys today free access to my check-in course. So you can start to do it on your own if you would like to get an idea and feel if you want to work together more at some point. But here is some free access for you. Go check in and start to see what it's like to do it by yourself. And set yourself, I have a guide for you. Like, it's basically each video will take you 15 minutes to get through each letter with a video and an activity and to get you started. But if you realize you want some help and you want to do it together, give me a call. Let's set up a 30-minute check-in call, free of charge. Just want to connect with you and see what I can do to help serve you. And Amanda's going to throw in the link for both the freebie and the call, and take your choice. Take what feels right to you today. But all I ask is that you check in with yourself, regardless of how you do it. Start looking at what you enjoy more and just start going for those aspects in what you want to do. And so you can come to connectingmamas.com for more information. I've just been updating, again, YouTube shorts. There's a couple on there from Liam. He's working on getting my short list up. So Connecting Mamas at YouTube. And tomorrow, if you are free at 11:30 CST time, there's a Zoom link on the top of that free course that Amanda just popped in there. Come join us for a mom circle and see what it's like just to connect on Zoom and see how we can connect together and see what it's like. Give it a try. And so I want to leave you with this quote from Jamie Kern-Lima, who was actually the very first seminar I ever took, was her full long day seminar when she came out with her book, Believe It. And so from Believe It is, being vulnerable is hard. It's really hard. But I've learned that sharing our truth, flawed, authentic self is the real way to connect and love can happen. It's the only way to step into our full power and purpose in life. It's finding that North Star, driving our passions towards it, and connecting with people who inspire that. And again, it's not that we necessarily will keep the same connections all the time, but it's making sure that for the part in our life, as we are working towards our North Star, that we find people to help bring that passion for more. So I want to thank all of you ladies, and I hope that we'll connect more. Again, the free courses in there, as well as Counterlink, and Amanda even threw in the YouTube station for you as well. So let's connect. And I think I think we had a little snafu recording. So in the replay, there may not, mine may not have been recorded. So Michelle's Beachman message may not have been recorded, but we're going to carry on. And those that were live, we thank you for joining us. And we're moving on to Janel, who I'm so excited to share the stage with. Janel is a women's empowerment coach, author, and speaker, and mom of 2 adult daughters. We're going to have the range here, ladies. After finding herself divorced after 24 years and heartbroken after a breakup with her boyfriend, Janel went on a deep dive into the healing and rediscovering herself and learned to enjoy life and all that comes her way. During her healing journal, she also wrote a book, which I can't wait to read, called You Are Your Own Lighthouse. Janel's mission is to help women see the greatness with themselves and step into the person to be. I'm so excited to hear what she has to say because I need that.
Thank you for that introduction, Michelle. You were glitching a little bit, but I hope it all comes out in the recording. I don't have the presentation like the slideshows like Michelle does. But so you're going to just look at my face and we'll talk a little bit. So today I want to talk to you about parenting during difficult times. Who here has had difficult times while they were being a parent? Anyone like to talk about that and bring it up? You don't have to, it's okay, because I had my fair share of difficult times, and they came in many different forms. And I wish I had some of these activities to help me when I was a parent. So when you are going through a difficult time, your child will feed off from that and can maybe start to act up. If you're dealing with an issue with your spouse or parents or friends or even your child and having to deal with them, or even something that's going on within yourself, you're going to have those feelings that are going to come up, and your child will feed off from those and might start acting up. So I'm going to give you some activities you can do with your child that will help not only your child, but will help you also with your emotions and just put you in a different state of mind. So the first activity would be artwork, Play-Doh, and coloring. So getting down and coloring with your child, getting out the crayons, just getting them out on the floor and just getting a blank piece of paper and letting them color, and you color with them. It gets their creativity going. It gets their problems. Sometimes it can get their problems out on that paper so you can see what's going on and get that hurt out. Don't get them like one that's lined with a specific, like a butterfly or flower. Get them just a blank piece of paper and talk to them about what they're coloring. What is scribbles to them, maybe something a little more for them, and you say, what is it that you are coloring? What is that you have drawn? And ask them, just because one, that acknowledges what's going on with them, and it also lets them feel heard. And when you're coloring, you and your child, it helps release some of that tension that's going on. It helps make the stuff that's going on inside, it just helps it get out. And I mean, they have coloring books for adults, so right there should tell you that it's something that it's a positive thing for you. Another aspect for children when they're coloring is it helps their fine motor skills. Those are the tiny muscles in their fingers that don't always get worked. And so that helps with them learning how to function. It also helps with their hand-eye coordination with coloring on the paper versus on the carpet. So another thing you can do is you can get Play-Doh. You can make your Play-Doh. If you want to go a step further, you can make your own Play-Doh. Find a recipe online and you can make the Play-Doh so that, especially if you have a child who likes to put things in their mouth, that way it's safe for them. But make your own Play-Doh, and then you get down and you just play with them with the Play-Doh. Once again, that gets those fine motor skills moving and helps them get those muscles working, and lets them learn how to use their fingers in another way. It also gets their creative juices going by going, oh, what can we make today? Can you make a dinosaur? Can you make a flower? Can we build a house? Just get their ideas going, and what they say it is may not be what it looks like, but in their mind it is. And once again, it gives you that time to bond with your child. Another way you can work with your children is finger paint or painting. Something I did with my daughters years ago, and right around this time, it's a good thing. I went to the ceramic store and I got this little ceramic heart, and then I got paint and I put their handprints on there and their names and the month and the year, and I sent them to their grandparents for Christmas. And I obviously have one of my own. So it's also not only something for you guys to do with your child, but also can be a gift. So it gets them involved and makes them learn about different things. Like when it comes to like finger paint, it helps them with texture also and what it feels like. Is it cold? Is it warm? Is it slimy? And just talk to them what it feels like, and it helps with their vocabulary. And when it comes to these activities as an adult, I know sometimes you might go, oh my gosh, I'm not one to do hand painting, and just all the mess and everything might stress you out more. It does help with the calming effect and therapeutic. If you do one that does that for you. It also allows you to have that time and that bonding time with your child. And it does help you with your creativity also, as you can start going, oh, and looking at things a little bit different. Like, what else can I do? If we're enjoying this, what else can I do with my child? The next activity I would recommend would be get out in nature. There are parks everywhere. You can go to a park. Going to a park helps the child and yourself in so many ways. It helps release a lot of that excess energy that's going on. It helps them with their gross motor skills, your child's gross motor skills, which is the larger muscles. It helps them learn how to move in different ways and understand the world. So like, it's not going to be the same even ground that you have in your house. It's going to be a little more uneven and terrain, and they can go, oh, and check out, you know, oh, how do I have to step to maneuver my my balance, and what is it like going down a slide, and how do I step up onto the steps, depending on the age of your child. It helps get them some vitamin D. And a park usually attracts other children, so it gets out the child's social skills, plus there's going to be other parents there, hopefully, that you can connect with and meet, so you'd be able to meet new people. If you don't have a park near you, you can always go for a walk. When you take a walk with your child, don't just go and just not talk to your child. Talk about what you see, especially right now with it being fall. Look at all the colors of the trees and tell your child, what colors is that tree? Oh, that tree doesn't have any more leaves. Where are all the leaves? And ask these open-ended questions. Even if they can't answer you or they don't know, ask those questions. It gets the mind going for them. You can, I'm thinking we have a red tree with red leaves. You can say, oh, look at the tree that has red leaves on it. And you can pick up a leaf or two and let them touch it and feel it and ask, what does that feel like? Is it soft? Is it crunchy? And just use different words for them to help with their vocabulary. You can ask them also what they see. They may see something that you don't see. And you can say, oh, I see 2 dogs. And you're like, where do you see 2 dogs? And they go, okay. And they find they'll point out the 2 dogs. You're like, oh, and then you'll say, oh, do you see the kitty cat in the window? Do you see the orange kitty cat? Use those colors so it helps them get the exposure to different colors. So talk to your child, to them about what you see also that they may not realize. This is also a wonderful time to talk. I already mentioned the colors, but it's also a great time to talk about counting. And you can count like how many trees that you're passing. You can count how many cars you are passing. And you can point out, well, do you see that blue car? Oh, there's 3 blue cars, 1, 2, 3, and point them out to them. That helps with their color and their counting, just helps with their education in general. The next one I would recommend would be to go to the beach. Probably not so much right now, depending on where you live, but going to the beach is a fun activity for them because it gets them in that sand. And if you have pail and shovel, it helps them with their hand-eye coordination and feeling the texture and problem solving, because when they go to put the sand in the pail, maybe it doesn't all fit in there. They get some off to the side. Well, they got to figure out how to get it into the pail. And it just helps with their problem solving. It also gets you around water, and nature in general is just usually a calming effect for us humans. So along with going to the beach with your child, it helps with both the fine motor and the gross motor development, especially if they're trying to walk in the sand that's uneasy, depending on which beach you're at, because I have one that's pretty firm, like you can drive on it. So it just gets them a different texture, and even having them walk barefoot on it. What does that feel like? Is the water cold? And talk about the water and having it splash on them. So number 3, the third activity is probably one of my absolute favorites. Next to the next one, it is build a fort. You can build a big fort, you can build a little fort. When your kids are little, you may have to do all the building and just do a little one. And as they get older, get to be 2, 3, 4, 5, get them to help you and get them to problem solve. And you have 2 chairs and they're trying to put a blanket over there. Well, what's wrong with the blanket? Why won't it fit over there? I don't know. Well, is it too small? Well, yeah, it is. Well, what do we need to do? Either you have to tell them, hey, maybe we need a bigger blanket, or they have to figure that out on themselves. Give them the chance to figure that one out. They'll go get a bigger blanket and then you'll be able to do it. And then they can say, oh, well, let's do this. And they may come up with something you didn't even think about. Well, let's grab this chair and try it here. And you're like, oh, wow, that makes it even bigger. Let them be involved with it as long as they can. And it will help them just with their creativity, and it will help them with just having that fun place to go. And as you're building it, ask them, what should we do in here? And you come up with these fun activities to do in the fort. My next one is read. You can read to them in the fort. You can, if you want, you can even have dinner in there or a snack. You can bring in their toys and have an indoor toy party. Just find out what your child would like to do inside the fort and work on it with them. It helps them with the creativity and problem solving, and it just ends up being something new and fun for you to do with your child. So another thing you can do in there, it's on my notes, I forgot to mention, is you can color with your child in there too. That would be a lot of fun to take some crayons in there and color. So my 4th activity is another one of my favorites, and the most important to do with your child is to read to your child. You want to start reading to your child ASAP, as soon as you can. And as soon as they're born, start reading to them and talking about things. Talk about the pictures that you see. You can, even if it's a book that they've had you read 100 times, open it up and ask them about the pictures instead. And ask them, what do you see? They might see a little squirrel that's hidden behind a tree that you didn't notice before. They might see that ladybug that's on the flower. Ask them what they're seeing. And you can also use this as they're getting older. What colors do you see in here? And have them help you point out, where's all the green? Where's all the blue? When you are reading to them, use your finger. As you're reading, point to the words that you are reading. That helps them connect the words with what you are saying. And it helps with them with their vocabulary, and it helps them when it comes to reading. So activity number 5 is this, it like piggybacks off from what Michelle was talking about earlier, is do something for yourself. Absolutely, hands down, one of the things I wish I would have done more of when my girls were, my girls were growing up. I would, but it's not as much as I should have. So doing something for yourself can look so different depending on who you are. It could be watching a movie or a TV show. You can partake in your favorite hobby. You can call a friend when you're struggling, or just, hey, I need to just talk for a little bit. You can, especially after the kids go to bed, create your own spa at home. It could be a facial, it could be a pedicure, manicure, it could be a bath, or it could be all 3, or it could be something else that you wanted to add in there. Whatever it is, find that one thing. Even if you have to get a babysitter and go to the movies yourself, or take yourself out to dinner, or out for a coffee, whatever it is, find that time for yourself and heal yourself. One of the ways that I wish I would have known before to help me get further was to get somebody who was, I don't want to say an expert, but maybe very knowledgeable in this area. A parenting coach would have been fantastic if I would have realized back then. Getting somebody who can help take me from where I'm at to that next level. I have included 2 things for you. It's there's a link for you. The link is for 7 activities to do with your child. And then I have a free gift of a discovery call for 30 minutes. And it should be in the chat for you if you would like to get one of those. You are more than welcome to. I would love to connect with you at some time. I would like to know though, which one of these were your favorites activities? Which one do you think you might do or would like to try?
I'm always intrigued with getting them out to nature, and actually kind of piggybacking on that is building a fort in nature and using all the twigs and stuff, and they've had fun doing that too, and they
I
love
love
doing
that. I love that idea. I may add that to my next one if you don't mind.
I do not mind at all, but my husband even took them. We have like a path over there, and they were all these branches. Like it was far away from home, but like someone had started it, and they like were continuing. They made this huge like circle thing like with sticks and stuff, and so like then they forgot about it for like months, and then they went back after like the season changed or people had to add it to it or change it a little bit, and then they were mad, but then they added more back to it. But it was like kind of like thing like almost communities, like you could do that as well.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for that. Because I'm thinking that takes me back to my childhood where we had woods and we didn't really build anything, but we kind of like in the ground, we would have layout of this is our house and this is where my room is. And yeah. So that was fun. And then my dad, as handy as he was, he just got some pallets, and it was just a box, literally. Here's your fort. So, do what you gotta do.
Do something with it.
I know.
And we
Cardboard
loved it.
boxes. Cardboard
We loved
boxes.
Who needs toys when you have cardboard boxes? I love that one commercial where they're like with all the presents and stuff, and the kids are off with a big box, and like all the presents are just sitting there. But so true, like because just let them be creative.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And cats and kids like boxes.
Yep.
Oh yes, the cats do too. You're right.
Yep.
And then my kids like to put the cats in the boxes and like look.
Yeah. So, Janelle, because you're talking about, being in challenging situations and all, how did you navigate as a single parent with your daughters?
I was actually kind of fortunate. My daughters were both, they were 19 and 21 when we divorced. We were separated. So I didn't have that per se. What I did have was the opposite of just being by myself. So I had empty nest and divorce. So it was learning that whole aspect. So, and add COVID in there and everything else. It was, yeah. And an injury on top of that. So not only was I isolated and not being able to go back to, not just isolated, but I also couldn't go back to work because of my foot injury. So literally I was home by myself with nobody, with no contact. So I learned, actually, this is what I did. I wrote this book. I've realized I wrote this book more for myself. Let's see if I get it there. I wrote this book more for myself, and I thought it was for divorced women, but it's for anybody really, because it is, I use this now. I'm like, I had my friend, she's like, why are you not reading your book? Because your book will help you. And I'm like, yes, I know. So, and it's a lot of things that Michelle was saying. I'm like, that's in my book. That's in my book. So go out and have coffee with yourself. Go out and learn to have a meal. I actually, because my husband was military, I kind of got to the point, I learned how to go ahead and have lunch by myself. Because of that, because I was alone, even when I had my daughters, if I went and did something. It still was a little uncomfortable, but it's a lot more comfortable. It's like commonplace now for me to just grab something out, go to lunch by myself and enjoy my own company. So
That I agree. That is so true though, Janelle, like just to be comfortable with being yourself. It's still, for me, I find that hard sometimes, but the more we do, it's this fear in our head that we're going to be judged or perceived. And then as we do it, it's like letting go of those judgments and perceptions. Like, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
I'm out by myself and I actually enjoy being myself. Do you? And asking that person, well, do you enjoy being by yourself? Like, can you actually do that? And so I think if you can answer the question, yes, that's what we're trying to get to, is that you are your own friend.
yeah, that's so true. Yeah, because during that time I also lost my one really good friend. And my other friend, she, because of COVID and she had her mom that was older, she really didn't want to connect. So it was like literally, I had nobody. I had nobody was checking on me. It was just me. And so what I did was I grew myself. I went and instead of sitting in front of Netflix, I took it in a completely different direction. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow, I'm going to become a different person. And the person you see sitting here today is not the same person even a year ago. 2 years ago, definitely not. I'm just a completely different person. I've done so much inner work, so much healing, and I contribute it to honestly, it's a coach. A coach helped me get through the pain that I had going on. I did see a therapist also, and she gave me some insight, but it was my coach that really helped me heal. So
I just want to thank you, Janelle, because you show us the possibilities. The moms out there, like it's possible. Like just small steps, taking care of yourself and finding the right community coach, whatever for you. Doesn't necessarily have to be this one, but just keep looking for you. What drives you? What make that decision to want to grow.
what can you say that again?
I would say make a decision to want to make that change, to want to grow and like do and make just small choices. Like what is it that is going to light you up?
Yeah, exactly. And you got to find that thing. Like I said earlier, which was in your recording, so I don't know if they heard, but I love going to the gym. I've always loved it. And so that's my thing that I love to do, and it's my joy. So I'm back at it now. I'm a week in, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Celebrate you.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I don't think my recording hit. So one of the main things that we were talking about with on mine with moms is to set yourself up the night before and figure out something you want to do for yourself the next day. We were coming up with a lot of ideas on the talk, but just even getting a cup of coffee or reading the book you want to do, but just that time and that intention the night before, so you have something to look forward to the next day.
Yeah, that's true.
That was a great tip. And
Yes.
it's not a big thing. You're not trying to change the world. You're just trying to do one little thing. And
For
you're thinking
yourself.
about it. So you've got all those hours of sleeping, thinking about it. And hopefully something doesn't derail it, right?
Right.
And it could also be just something so simple as getting up a half hour before the kids and having a quiet cup of coffee or tea. I mean, because it's still my, after the gym, that's my thing, is a hot cup of coffee, or tea. I drink tea, I don't drink coffee, but having that. So just, it could be
Agreed.
something that simple that, you don't have to necessarily go anywhere.
That's true, because maybe you can't.
Or you can't afford it. I mean, especially during COVID, it was like you had to get creative. So, yeah, that's another book idea I have coming out is, I don't know. I don't know if I want to say it just yet, because then it makes it a little more real, but I've already said it, that creating a retreat at your own home, different ideas. So, in different ways. So yeah.
Well, you had quite the COVID experience, but it looked bad for a while, but you really made, by writing a book, you
Yeah.
really changed the narrative of your own life.
Yeah. And for me, that I think that ended up being part of the way I healed. But yeah, I also became a coach during that time, and a speaker too. I hosted a class, group of coaches. We met every Sunday. We did it for just about a year until my grandma fell, and because I wasn't there keeping it up, it kind of fell apart. But yeah, it was amazing. I love that community. So it's just, I created my own happiness. I created it, and I loved it. So.
Well, congratulations, because
You're an
yeah,
inspiration.
that was taking something that was really dire, a divorce and an injury and job and all of that, and really spun it around, which is a great inspiration unto its own.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Janel.
Well, thank you so much, Janel. And I am getting to introduce Sandy Skaar, and I'll get to interview her. We met, Sandy was sharing something from her experience that just really blew me away, and I wanted to have an opportunity for you moms to be able to hear her experience. When Sandy was a young married couple, newlyweds, they made a lifelong commitment to become, I don't know if they knew at the time that it was going to be a lifelong commitment to be foster parents. Sandy, hi there. Want to make sure that you're hearing, and you want to unmute yourself. Almost, not quite there. There we go. Are you unmuted? I can't quite see it. How are we doing there? Today we've had some little tech challenges, but we're there. How are you doing? So you still need to unmute yourself. There you go. Hi, Sandy.
Hi. Hi,
Thank you for
Tracy.
joining us this morning. Well, I just thought our community would really appreciate hearing your experience, because you did something very challenging. And as I was just starting my introduction and realizing that you weren't unmuted there, I don't know if you knew it was going to be a lifetime commitment, but as a young married couple, they became foster parents and to teenagers. So if you could imagine that. And eventually that led to adopting 4 special needs kids and raising them to adulthood, and 2 of them now have children of their own. And of course, it takes more than a big heart to provide a home for kids needing to overcome extreme trauma and chaos in their early lives. And because the kids' needs were so great, and this was before the internet, Sandy worked tirelessly negotiating miles of government red tape to access resources for them. And today she helps other parents who are in similar situations be able to get the resources and things that they need that are there, but sometimes you don't need them. But what Sandy wanted to talk about today, I mean, we could talk about adoption and we could talk about special needs kids, but she wanted to talk and share things that she learned in dealing with challenging behaviors. Because those of you who are parents, we see that in different ways. We also see it when you're a teacher or a counselor. So we can all benefit from what Sandy has spent a lifetime dealing with day to day, in having all kinds of things thrown at her and being able to help these kids really thrive, all the children who came through their home. So Sandy, I mean, there's so much to talk about, but I wanted to start with the story that I heard you tell. On the news, sometimes we hear just horrific experiences that children, they find children that are in just terrible circumstances, and the kids are removed from the home, and you never really hear what happens. But you were somebody, you and your husband stepped up in one of these situations. So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about Paul, the first child that you adopted, and I know that you had incredible behaviors to deal with. So if you could start by sharing a bit about Paul, it would get us started.
Absolutely. Paul was 6.5 when he was finally found, and he was locked in a room with no window, no furniture. His hands were like this. He didn't know how to sit. He didn't have clothes. His brother would put him outside on nice days on a dog chain. It was actually a log chain because he didn't want him to escape. His father was a long-distance truck driver, and his mom was home bedridden. His brother didn't want to turn his parents into the authorities, so he wasn't discovered until his brother's grades started falling in school, and that's when he was a senior, and Paul was 6. And well, he was actually younger than 6, but they had to wait till he was 6 to prove that he actually existed. And then it took 6 months for them to get the court papers around to get him from the home. And when he was brought into the county group home, my ex-husband and I were relief foster parents that weekend, and it was horrific. He came in on all fours, just like a little animal, crawling. And he was petrified. He was horrified of everyone and everything. He wasn't used to people being around him. He was so frightened. We had set up a bedroom for him, but he wouldn't go in there. So we had to remove everything. And then he would go in, and we had to close the curtains so it was completely dark. And gradually, entering one piece at a time, we were able to introduce him into a bedroom in the same way with clothing and sunlight, and the same way with eating. I used to take his little hands and pry them open with a knife to get his hands used to being flexible, because he wasn't used to holding his hand out. And he has cerebral palsy, so it was very difficult. His muscles were so tight. And he was nonverbal, so he didn't talk. So it was very hard to communicate with him. And he would have all kinds of behaviors and scream and shout. But I've always believed behaviors are communication. So I would just use calm voices with him and give him space, and just sit in a corner with him and allow him to have his space. So gradually he began to trust Larry and I, and eventually he began to trust other people and began to come out of his shell. And now he's just this amazing young man.
That is just such a story. But that took a lot of devotion on your part to be able to you know, help a child that is in so much trauma. Now, I heard you say that, I don't know, I think, was he about 11 when you brought Lisa into the house?
No, he was younger than that. He was probably around 9 when we brought Lisa into the house. He was 11 when we adopted him. I wanted him to have a say in his adoption, so we waited to adopt him until he could tell the judge he wanted to be adopted.
And so he was able to speak then? So in
No.
all those years, no, not yet? Oh, just nodding.
Yes,
Oh,
he was able to sign yes.
wow. So with a child that had that many needs, and you had spent years of devoting that into the situation, you bring another very traumatized child who has her own behavior issues, because children have to cope in some way. And how did that change the dynamic with Paul and yourself as the parent now, because you have to learn the behaviors of the next child? And how was that in being able to handle the dynamics that happened in your family then?
Well, actually, we were treatment foster parents for 11 years, so our dynamics was constantly changing. So we brought in treatment foster teenagers from institutions and reintegrated them into the community, and they had behaviors. So we were used to dealing with challenging behaviors all the time. So bringing Lisa into our home, we were used to brain injuries because we had several teenagers with brain injuries. Lisa was so traumatic because of her scars on her shoulders and her back. And she had been sexually molested as well. And her head injuries were from being pounded on the floor because that's what her mother had done. So she would have moments where she would say stop and no one was around. And the doctor said that she was reliving the past. And anytime she would have her surgeries on her scars, the doctor said she would go into reliving the abuse of the past, because when she would come out of the surgery, she would just cry and cry and cry. And I would just hold her and rock her. But eventually we stopped having the surgeries because we almost lost her once, and decided no more. It wasn't worth having this surgeries on the scars to have them removed. It was, you know, people had to deal with seeing her scars. It's just part of who Lisa is.
So when I mean, you aren't trained for dealing with all of those things, and you had to figure out with each child, but you also you're dealing with Paul, and Lisa, I think, was 4.5, right? She was little. And how could you deal with both of that in the household? I mean, that was full time.
Yeah, and we also had a little baby, Melissa, who had spina bifida at the time too. So, well, I'm intuitive, so I used my guides a lot and my angels to tell me what to do. And so I just instinctively knew how to help each person and what they needed and how to calm them. But you know, each person, I look at them as an individual in their personality, not their disabilities, not their injuries. And I think that's so important for moms to know. It's not the behaviors, it's the person's communicating. And that's what you have to look at, is the communication. What are they expressing to you? You know, even Paul, when he was first came to the group home, he was expressing fear. He was scared. Lisa, when she came out of surgery, she was expressing, you know, her past abuse, and she was fearful. And I was there to comfort her. You know, Melissa, as a baby, she was reliving being a drug addict from drug parents, you know, and being a spina bifida baby, she, you know, wasn't able to use her lower portion of her body. And her parents wanted to put her in an institution, and our social worker said no. And now she's living with her mom, and she has an amazing life. So if we hadn't stepped in, she would have ended up in the institution.
So now with all of these kids, here come Andy and Kelly. I'm not sure which was adopted first, but so the children that you decided to adopt, you had kids who were foster, so they would be passing through, but you did choose to adopt these 4 kids. And these children weren't really little. These children were already preteens. Yes. Mm-hmm.
We had a chance to adopt Andy and Kelly when we adopted Lisa, but her parents wanted us to adopt a healthy, normal white baby. And Lisa was supposed to be a healthy, normal white baby. But as it turned out, Lisa has a developmental disability because of her brain injuries. But Kelly and Andy were preteens, so we decided to adopt Lisa. And then when our adoption hearing was about to be finalized, we got a call from our social worker and said Andy had been hit on the back with a 2x4 in a pre-adoptive home. And his sister was still with him. And would we reconsider adopting them? And I said, we will visit them. And so we did. And of course, the story is history. We adopted them. And they were 11 and 12. And of course, because they were preteens, they came with a lot of issues. They had a lot of sexual abusive foster care in pre-adoptive homes. They had been in 9 different homes after they had been separated from their natural home. I have court papers stating the only reason they were removed is Andy had a bruise on his face and there was beer in the fridge. Now, why would you remove 9 children from a home for that? When at that time they had trouble removing Lisa from the same county. My mind just was blown away when I read that. And Andy and Kelly wanted to be reunited with their parents desperately. And Larry and I made a promise to them that we would try to find their birth parents. And every year we tried. And again, this is before the internet. And finally, I found both their parents. The father was in prison and he didn't want anything to do with the kids because he didn't want them, especially Andy, to follow his footpaths. And I did find Ruth, the birth mom, and she did want to be reconnected. And Andy and Kelly did meet and develop a relationship with her before she passed. And she did call me and thank me for connecting her to her kids.
So you have now 4, but you also have preteens and you've got teenagers. And what was your secret to dealing with teenage behavior, especially when you had 4 of them? What was your secret to dealing with that?
Listening to their behavior. What was it communicating to me? It's not the screaming, it's not the shouting, it's not what they're saying. It's not the words they're saying. What is beyond it? And to give them choices, reassure them they're loved, reassure them you're here for them, reassure them they're being heard, reassure them they have choices. And when you're working with psychologists or a psychiatrist or a counselor, make sure you're collecting data, because for me, that was crucial. Because I would get into sessions in the beginning and my normal kids would say, I never said that. So I learned to take notes. I learned to keep track of what was going on. And yes, if you have to tape a conversation, tape it and play it back so that they know what is being said. Because in the heat of their anger, they might not remember what they said to you. And they don't always remember. My son, Andy, used to blow up at me and he wouldn't remember he said that. And I would play it back to him. I would say, now, Andy, now that you're calm, I want to play this for you. Did you really mean what you said to me? And he would start crying and say, Mom, you know I didn't mean that. And then say, okay, what did you mean to tell me? And then we would have a discussion. The main thing is not to get into a battle with them. Arguing takes 2 people, not 1. And arguing doesn't solve anything. Yes, you do have to have boundaries, especially with teenagers, and they don't always like it. Even little kids, even Lisa, when she was little, I had to set boundaries with her. She didn't always like it, but I had to set them.
And so what did you do when they broke them?
I just reinforced the boundary.
Because you have
It's just-
you have so much calm about this. It doesn't seem like you've taken it really personally. But I mean,
Just use your calm, reinforce it. Now, Lisa, you know what the boundary is. Put your toys up. You're not going to go until we put the toys up. And just repeat it until she puts her toys up or whatever she wants to do. You just repeat it in a calm manner. It has to be in a calm manner. You can't raise your voice. Raising your voice will get you nowhere because then you're feeding into their emotions and you're playing their game and you don't want to go there.
so we're all of this time, because these children had such extreme needs and extreme emotional needs, were you had counseling and you had that kind of support for the kids and for yourself? Yeah, I would think. Well, now I also heard you say that you are raising Kelly's child. So Kelly
Yeah.
passed away after having children. So Andy and Kelly did have children and move into a normal life, but then she passed away. And did you adopt your grandchild?
No. And he wanted to keep his last name Taylor, and that's fine with me. He's Kelly's son, and I want him to grow up. He's so much like his mom. I just love seeing his mom in him, and I try to keep his memories of his mom alive and remind him of little things his mom did and things that he likes, that she liked, and just keep that memory alive in him. And so he's kept her last name Taylor. And so he's now 22 and he came to live with us when he was 10. And he weighed 37.5 pounds. And he now weighs 157.
So after having raised children, and now you have a child back in the home as a grandparent, where do you have the energy to do that?
Well, I also am raising my son, Paul.
Still,
who's
you have Paul lives with you still for all these years. That is a commitment. So he has had you as a mom for life for sure.
Yeah, so it's a joy, it's a passion. I love seeing both of them every day. They're just strong, handsome men coming into their own. And Joseph works at a hotel part-time, and he's going to take a driving assessment next week to see if he has the driving skills. With his FAS, we're not sure if he does or not, but he's going to try. And, Paul goes out in the community every day with a worker. So he's living the life.
Yes, I heard you say that when they were younger, you had to make sure Paul was in front of you because he lagged behind. Lisa had to walk beside you. I'll let you tell that.
I still do. I do that every time they're with me. Paul goes in front of me and Lisa stands beside me. She walks beside me because Lisa likes to hug everybody. She's a lover and she'll hug every stranger she sees. And Paul, he's a lagger. And so I have him walk in front of me so that he doesn't get lost or lag behind. And I know where he is.
And you've done, made sure that the kids are out in the community and the community is seeing them. They are not, they're not staying home and hidden away. Well, what an awesome human being.
And Lisa's out every day, just like Paul.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, I know that I had mentioned that you were available to help other parents who are negotiating. Now you do have, it's not like when you didn't have the internet and you had to call around and try and find services, that, services are available. And this is work that, because you are helping them negotiate getting government funds, you don't take any pay for that, that is just something, you're just helping parents in a similar situation. I'm just trying to, if I can get my link up here to do it there. So it's just to help parents who have qualify in any way, or even education and all of the support that they would have. So I just want to thank you so much for, joining us here at Workshops for Moms, because we are here as a weekly pick-me-up. And I know I was just inspired by all you did and how you found that within yourself to provide that for children. But you as a mom, what did you do? Since we were talking today about self-care, what did you do for yourself? I mean, you still have, raising a grandchild and still having Paul and Lisa. What do you do for yourself?
Well, I meditate. I take walks, and I've recently started another company.
For yourself. Not like you're too busy, right? So moms, can we start our businesses and have kids in the home? Here's grandma doing that. Wow. So, I mean, really, from all these years of devotion, where did you pull that out of yourself?
Actually, it was my angels and guides that told me I had to do it. When I had my reverse shoulder replacement, it was horrible recovery. And I had this, I guess, spiritual journey during that recovery. And my angels and guides kept saying, you're meant to teach and you need to teach others. And I'm like, but I want to retire.
You deserve it.
It kept coming up in my meditations. And finally, I just said, okay, I will teach intuition. So that's my mission, is to teach others how to achieve their own intuition, to unblock their intuition, and then for them to teach others intuition so we can raise the vibration on our earth.
Well, I'd like to open this up to any questions that others moms have on things that you'd like to ask Sandy. We're not promoting adoption necessarily. that was your experience, but anyway, let's just open it up to anybody who'd like to chat with you.
And Tracy, I did put 3 documents in at the beginning of the call, PDFs. I don't know if you can grab those.
I see them. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I would just like to say, you already answered my question that I had, but I've heard this story a couple times and it just still amazes me, gives me chills. And thank you for being you. And I wish I had you as somebody to guide me as I was a parent and teach me to be an amazing person So thank you for all you have done.
You're welcome.
I love your story. Every time I hear it, I start to tear up. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being you.
And Sandy, I had the privilege of having one of your intuition sessions, and I'm so grateful, Sandy. Like, you and what you're sharing and just reminding me about mom tips is amazing. And then this energy that you exude, that's just so calming and like not yelling at the kids or the takes two to argue. I'm like, okay, yes. So I feel a lot of that with my own kids. So thank you for your wisdom and sharing, and thank you very much. I'm all about using more of my intuition and remembering when we get caught in those heat of the moments with our kids. Thank you very much, Sandy.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ren.
I've always been inspired, Sandy, every time I see you talk, and I keep saying, oh, I'm going to sign up for one of our intuition sessions, and I have not done it yet. So that is something I'm coming after you, because I need to work with you a little bit more. I also, though, had a question. I have a friend who has always had trouble conceiving and stuff, and always thought about adoption, but then kind of put it in the back of her mind. And I would love to connect her with you just to get some insight into the process or something she wants to do, because she's kind of blocked it and just never really, like, she's actually in my beta class right now, and just I'd just like to connect her with you, just someone to talk to and see if that's something she would like to do or not do, just to make some decision making for her own purposes.
Absolutely.
So I'll be sending her your way.
Okay.
Sandy, just as a count, how many foster kids did you have come through your home?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Probably at least 15.
Oh, and some stay a long time, or, you know?
Yeah, we had Tracy for 5 years. We had Dwight for 3 years. We had this other man for, well, Dwight, we had 3 years, and then his social worker picked him up for a visit with his mom, and he never returned. And his social worker told us he didn't want to come back. And then years later, after we moved, he showed up on my doorstep at like midnight or something and said, "Why didn't you want me back?" And I said, "Oh my God, you didn't want us." And he said, "Mom, I never said that." And so I begged our social worker at that time to let us keep him. And so we were able to keep him until he was 19. So we had him for probably about 6 years.
Wow.
And my ex-husband still stays in touch with Dwight. But yeah, why a social worker would do that, I have no idea. There was nothing wrong with our relationship.
Wow. Well, that's the thing that, I mean, those of us who are teachers, which in our community, we have a lot of teachers and counselors and working with kids, and it's just so delicate, and we have so many kids in need. So again, I have to thank you for, you know, that's putting some kids who could have gone another direction, but giving them a chance to become as whole as they can and to be able to function in society. I know in our situation, hearing that at the time when we had 3 adoptive grandkids come into our experience, that they said there were 54,000 kids in the state waiting for adoption. That was not foster kids. That's parental rights had already been removed. And the kids were just begging for homes, and there's just not enough out there. So, you know, I see Dolly Parton got 100 million from Jeff Bezos. I'd be putting it into this, where the kids need to transition from being children, and the state is emancipating them at like 16 and 17 and they're supposed to be able to function on their own. I'd really be putting it here so they could transition to adulthood and have services, but care, just that we all need that, but to feel loved, and you providing that home. I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you for all those kids coming through. And it sounds like there was a divorce in there on top of it, and still you had the children to take care of, and what you know, a good human being you have been.
I will say Larry and I remain best friends. You
Well,
know,
that's awesome.
that's the one thing through our divorce we said from day one we will remain best friends.
Mm.
And
So that's another conversation to have, is do the kids impact, and what do you do about, you know, your marriage, and all, and then we change as we grow, and you know, and also, yeah, another conversation another day. So everyone, are there any more questions or questions? This is our question and answer period. So any for Sandy or for Michelle or for Janelle?
I asked in the chat that it has been they told me, but I just want it to be on video. Also, I asked what the intuition sessions were that everyone was talking about. So, and they said it was Sandy's 30-minute free call. Is there a chance that we can get that in the chat, for those that are listening, that I don't know if you're going to copy the chat.
Let me
for the
see if I
replay?
can get that. I'll see if I can.
Well, Sandy, I opened up your calendar, but you have no openings up. So you're gonna need to add some spots to your calendar.
oh, okay, I can do that right now.
Okay, I put that link in there. Janelle, I put the link to her calendar in there. I think that's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Yes.
right now, like there's no openings, so
Okay,
Oh, I
It's
see
just
it.
so
Self-directed
letting you
choices.
know, Sandy.
okay,
Okay, let me go there.
okay. All right. So, and it's going to show up in the chat for anybody who watches on the replay also, just so you're aware that the replay will be up for a week. And so if people see that and want to do something about that, great. All right.
Can you
well,
talk a little bit about that? The self-directed choices, I think is what it is.
Well, self-directed choices is her business to help parents that have special needs kids. It's to negotiate all the Medicaid and
Okay.
government, and so that is there's no charge for her work on that. But that is to help parents get resources that have children that are identified as special needs in some way. Is that correct, Sandy?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I guess I was talking about something different. I
You
was
are.
asking, about the intuition sessions that Ren and Michelle had talked about.
Right. So do you see in the chat, I put her self-directed choices. That is for the parents, but her Calendly talk, there's right underneath that. It's Heartfelt 333. Do you see the link for that? That's how to reach her if you'd like to do an intuition session.
Yeah, I don't.
A
I
parent
personally don't see
intuition
it.
session.
Is it
I
just
can do it
me? I
again.
don't see it on there.
In the chat?
I don't see it in the chat.
I don't see it either.
Okay, I was gonna say,
I
is
see
it
it.
me?
I see it.
That's why I was asking. I'm like, maybe it's just me.
No, that's funny. Okay, I'll do it again.
Give you my email. You
Yeah.
can just email me directly.
Okay, well, I don't think my chat's just for myself, but we're always learning new technology here, ladies. Okay, let's try
Because
that.
for some reason I'm having trouble with Calendly. So
Okay.
just email me directly.
Okay, and I put in the website too.
Yeah. Just email me at Sandy Hart. Oh, it should be Sandy Heartfelt Coaching 333 at Gmail.
Okay, let's do that.
I can't type right. Heartfelt,
Oh, we're all trying to.
Heartfelt Coaching
Sandy Heartfelt Coaching
333@gmail.
All right, I'm doing it. You got it?
I think I got it right that
Okay.
time.
Okay, you have 2 H's there. I don't think you want 2 H's.
Oh, I got it right that time. Tracy, you type it.
Okay, now let's see if I can.
I'm going to just say thank you everyone for coming to Workshop for Moms. I'm going to stop this first recording
Okay,
right now, and I just want to say on the replay, thank you everyone.
Thank you, Tracy.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Sandy, for sharing your story.